Hello and welcome to ET MSME Talks, a series of conversations part of our flagship ET MSME Awards. I'm Aloni Bhatt. As the workplace moves beyond offices and onto dining tables and bedside desks, digital collaboration tools are more important than ever. Businesses, big and small, have understood the need to adopt these digital first practices. But how can Indian MSMEs, which contribute over 30% to the Indian economy and employment, ensure that they get their digital transformation journey right? Now we have with us Anand Bala, business leader, MassMarket, India and SAARC, Zoom Video Communications, to give us some insights into this through a presentation. Hi Anand, very good to have you with us here today.
Hi, Meloni, and thank you for having me as well. I'm a big fan of ET. Have been subscribed to ET hard copy for I don't know how long. So yeah, I'm a big fan of ET, and thank you for having me today. And I'm looking forward to speaking to the audience. Do you want me to get started straight into the presentation now, or?
We're looking forward to your presentation, and thank you very much to the audience that's joined us today. Anand will be taking a few questions after the presentation, so please send us your questions in the chat box.
Thank you, particularly to everybody out there who's part of the SMB segment. I think we've done a phenomenal job of pivoting towards collaboration over the last 2.5 years or so. The adoption levels for collaboration and for video communication have been phenomenal. And some of the use cases that we've come across have been truly unique. So thank you to this segment in particular, the SMB segment, for really showing us the way in terms of how collaboration can actually be used. And I know many of the SMBs out there are our customers, and thank you so much for working with us as well, right? We've seen, about 5 years ago or so, an accounting application or an ERP application would have been treated like a collaboration application, non-mission critical, right? I mean, 5 years ago, if collaboration went down, nobody would bat an eyelid. Today, if communication or collaboration systems went down, we would be running to the panic button, right? For example, none of us are inside the same room. And if collaboration systems went down, people would be going, okay, how do I get connected back up? Is my cable plugged in? What's going wrong? So we've seen that we now understand that collaboration is mission critical, and there is one critical platform that you need to have within organizations to address communication and collaborations. And businesses, particularly the SMB space, has started understanding that there are two big shifts that are actually driving this one critical path, right? One is external. We are seeing economic uncertainty around the globe. There are countries calling out that, hey, we may be on the cusp of recession. We are seeing turmoil in the currency markets, and we are seeing that impact the SMB segment as well. We tend to get impacted faster, right, within that segment than others, right? Less insulated in some senses. This economic uncertainty also combined with geopolitical uncertainty, right, in many places. So there is the shift that's taking place in the outside world, right? And I'm not talking pre-pandemic or anything, but there's a shift that's taking place in the outside world. Internally, many companies in the mass market / SMB space are also saying that their workforce is also calling or asking to change, right? We are seeing attrition rates at a high. We are hearing terms like silent resignations. We are hearing terms like the great resignation. We are also seeing that employees are saying, look, I'm okay coming to work 2 or 3 days a week, but not 5 or 6 days a week. I'm not really comfortable doing that yet. And this flexibility that I've got, I'm productive. They are responding to that and saying there is a shift, right? Second, this flexible work has also meant that employees are saying, hey, we need to redesign the way we think of offices, right? An office is no more a space where we go into where there's like a work floor and you put on a headset and start pounding the phone. Offices now are spaces where people come for focus time. People come for all hands calls, for huddle meetings, right? Very specific interactions. The general work that you do through the day is either done on the road or in a home office, and you're not coming in too much. So companies are realizing that the workforce also wants to shift. With this also comes the fact that I'm also seeing attrition, right? And it's a double-edged sword where I can also now start hiring and recruiting from tier 2, tier 3 cities if I'm able to provide the right kind of tools to employees to kind of work and uh, be connected with the rest of the office, right? So how have companies reacted to these two shifts? Some of them are saying, look, uh, I'll work with communication systems that are good enough. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? You can say, look, I use what apps are available on my phone. Uh, I use what's available with existing systems, maybe. My CRM system, for example, has a capability to communicate, chat, and maybe start calls. Maybe my customer service application has this capability. Maybe I've built in something into my factory floor already where I'm able to see what's happening, and if necessary, people are able to patch me in, right? Whatever application or tools I have, they have some level of embedded communication. Let me work with that, right? And then you've got different teams within the company who are probably saying, look, that maybe works for certain types of communication, but if I need to do an all hands call with everybody in my organization, which is now spread across, I need a different tool. If my marketing folks want to say, look, I'm investing in leads, I need to do a webinar, they are choosing a different tool, right? When we talk to customers, we want to deliver a slightly kind of different experience, I will use a tool for that. When I'm dealing internally, I want to have a different experience in collaboration, so I will choose a different tool to do that. So what's happening? They're getting multiple solutions for different situations, and different teams are using different solutions. This may, in most cases, it does lead to a failure. Where am I going for chat, right? I want to tell Miloni, hey Miloni, I'm running 5 minutes late for our meeting, right? Or hey Miloni, what's the status on the last conversation that we had with ET? Where are we going with that? Where am I going for chat? Where am I going to start a meeting with customers, and where am I going to start an internal meeting, right? And if, let's say, we have sales or marketing folks, which platform are we using to connect? So we've got diverse platforms, and somewhere this communication line starts to break because I've kept messages in one particular silo. I'm using communication or video in another silo, and I'm using something very different for events, right? And if this one chain breaks, all the applications may be working, but if this chain breaks, you're going to see that business is going to start to suffer, and business will also come down. So what are we hearing from SMBs? SMBs who pivoted very well. They're saying, Anand, when we get one simple user interface that's able to work across devices and different use cases, a user interface that kind of works and reduces complexity for us, it makes sure that we don't have a failure in that and across that critical path. So one device, one simple experience that's consistent, and you can use this particular user interface to deliver across different use cases. Let me try and explain this with an analogy, right? Almost everybody I know uses UPI, almost everybody, right? Why has it had such wide ubiquitous adoption? Because it's easy to use, it's secure, and it just works. SMBs are saying collaboration should have all those features as well, right? It should be easy to use, it should be secure, and it should just work. And it should work exactly the same way, irrespective of the device that I'm using or the use case in which I use it, right? And we know that for us, within the mass market, the SMB space, quality means a lot, in the sense that we are working in areas with very low bandwidth or with other internet challenges. In fact, we were testing my connection when we came in for this, because even though I'm in Bangalore, sometimes I have a weak internet connection as well. So am I able to deliver collaboration tools in different environments which have different connectivity challenges, right? And we do know solutions, including ours, that, even with a high degree of packet loss, you can still have good fidelity. And I've had the situation where I was going through a car in Pune in a tunnel, and yes, I did lose connectivity, but as soon as I came out, the call still held, and it was playing in a fast forward mode, and we didn't lose. I didn't have to connect back up. A more closer to home example is, how easy is it to get into calls? right? Remember the time when you used to have 3 people waiting outside the huddle room in case one of the wires didn't work? Or as one IT guy did way back in 2004, said, "I know where you live" sticker on that speaker, right? Because you don't know when that could go down, or if you plug something out, the entire system is down. You need to have a system that works efficiently and provides high quality as well. So you're not worrying about collaboration and can we make it work, but you are able to deliver a consistent experience, and folks are focused on what they're supposed to do. The sales guys are selling, the HR guys are involved in their function. Each person is doing what that meeting was meant to do and not really worried about efficiency. And going back to those two shifts that are happening, right? What are employees going through? And I think that's important to address as well, right? So I've got a mobile phone, which I'm using on chat, email, everything. You're asking me to update stuff on the CRM if I'm traveling with customers, or if I'm a customer experience person, you're asking me to update stuff on the customer experience application that we use. And if I'm, let's say, involved in the financial sector, I'm also accessing apps that are fairly secure, and I have to update notes there as well. Now, going back to that disjointed experience, right? Employees also are increasingly finding it tough to say, look, this connected world is great, but how many connections do you really want me to have? How do I make it easy for employees, or how do you make it easier for employees to say, irrespective of what you're doing and the tools that you're using at work, the applications that you may be using at work, can I build in collaboration? And employees tend to have a quick adoption rate with tools that kind of work well that way, right? We are also seeing that a tremendous amount of features is what the SMB segment is asking for, right? They're saying, hey, can we have closed caption? They're saying, I've got, for example, 6 different languages that I need in one call. Do you have the ability for me to bring in live translators, right? We are bringing in a host of features, and not just Zoom. Everybody who's in that collaboration space, right, is bringing in a lot of features. Zoom in particular, we are known to have a high rate of feature releases, looking at and listening to what the marketing, what the market is saying, and taking in that feedback. But the key, I think, is, does the design of the collaboration solutions that you choose, is it based on that human connectedness? Are you able to deliver that experience where communication just happens? And again, let me try and illustrate this with an example. Hybrid, everybody says hybrid. I see it on the front page of meeting almost every day, hybrid. You've got 3 people joining from a virtual conference. You've got 4 people sitting inside a huddle room, 7 people in, they're all looking at a product. How do I deliver a consistent experience, feature-wise, right? Can I have a screen that now takes all these 7 spaces and is able to split them as 7 different tiles? The same experience you would have in one meeting room, where you're actually able to connect with everybody and see everybody. Can I also have a separate camera that's projected on the object? Maybe it's a manufacturing floor. It's a widget. I have a camera focused on that as well. That is a participant. Can I create that same consistent experience, even in a hybrid world that one would have if everybody was virtual or if everybody was online? How do I translate that experience? And that's something that some collaboration platforms, particularly Zoom, we've been very proud of what we've been able to deliver there. Again, as we scale within this segment, as companies start to scale, they're looking at, how do I build in collaboration into platforms that, or services that we are offering to customers? Am I a bank or a small bank, right? Or am I in the BFSI segment where I'm trying to sell insurance? Can I have a simple application where I'm able to connect, a customer comes to my website and I'm immediately able to start a call, right? As a DSA, can I integrate collaboration into the way that we are engaging with customers? So do I take all the features of Zoom or all the features of a collaboration platform or integrate, or do I build a video-rich application? Making these options available to SMBs to say, do you want to build something that's really video-rich, integrated into your services that you offer to customers? That's one approach. Or say, hey, you've already done all the hard work. Why don't you just take the features, use simple SDK integration and go on? The key here is, can I integrate Zoom's SDKs or the collaboration platforms SDK that you choose into different applications that you're using, so that you can start video calls with all stakeholders, internal or external, right? Staying connected. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to drive, right? Uh, Let me just highlight a few use cases as well, right? That we are seeing in the government space. Small government departments are using collaboration very effectively for monitoring and evaluation. We've got one case where one person who's got an office of 4 people in one state is on a daily basis using webinars to connect with schools across the state, right? So a small team, a small organization, but being able to connect and communicate with so many schools at the same time to say, look, how's the infrastructure development going on in each of the schools? You have a deadline, you have a target to achieve, right? Financial segment, financial services, many small companies are in the space of eKYC, right? How can you build in KYC services into the applications that you're building? Or if you're in the business of loans, how do you use video to get your KYC done? And it's something that RBI allows currently, right? Kiosks in banks, for example, or bank branches, you go in, press one button, video call starts. I've seen this in small airports as well, where there is, for example, a shortage of staff. You do have video kiosks where somebody is able to go in and just immediately start a conversation. Let me just take this video kiosk example and move it to hospitality, something straight in that SMB space, right? We've got hundreds of PGs in the city where I stay in, Bangalore, hundreds of them. And we've got a few of them now who are, and the case is actually up live on Zoom's website, who've used virtual kiosks as a receptionist. So you walk in, there is a device there, you press start, and you have a receptionist come on live. And we have now seen people who are asking us, and it is possible, can I integrate security also into this kiosk, where this receptionist is now able to determine whether or not they want to open the door or provide access to a specific door in that facility, right? So a simple, the same platform, the same collaboration, but the integrations now are able to create a very, very strong multiplier, right? We are spending a ton of money, companies are spending a ton of money on SEO, optimization, on social media to generate leads. From a marketing standpoint, how are you engaging with these leads, right? You want to run large scale webinars. And in some cases, you want to record these webinars and also provide them as a service later on to say, hey, we've done a lot of work. We've had one really good, great meeting with many clients in there. Can we make this available to more customers, right? So marketing teams are increasingly starting to rely on webinars and drive cost efficiencies there as well. Many small retailers have said, hey, can I integrate video to directly call some of my customers? If they build a small website, very locally flavored website, and they are able to add video on the shopping cart, and they get a trigger saying, hey, you know what? Somebody just added 10 products, but they're probably dropping. You give them the option to say, call the store, being called, and you can start a conversation, right? Many SMBs are also there in the technology space, where you can start, for example, something that many tech firms that I work with, small tech firms that I work with, they've got large sales teams, 15, 20 member sales teams selling into the US market and other markets. We're saying, why don't we run analysis on the calls that they make via video? How much time are they actually spending with customers? How much time are they spending talking? Are they like Anand Bala, given a slide deck will go on and on and on? Or are they actually asking open-ended questions to customers? How much time is a customer speaking on call? Can we run AI on some of these conversations to better understand and coach reps? This is something that we've started doing very intensively in the technology space. So you can now see how we're able to build up the functionality. In the manufacturing space, there are partners of ours who've developed cameras onto eyewear, onto hats, where you can be on the factory floor. And if you want to say, look, this is what's happening, or this is the product in my hand, or this is the issue that I'm facing, with a press of a button, you're starting a video call to a central huddle room or a central room somewhere else, and you are able to address an issue very quickly. So those realware devices. I saw something a couple of weeks ago in Bangalore, where somebody had attached a camera to the drone, which is normal, but that drone could also connect to a Zoom room, right? So you are able to, for example, use it over a particular area. You're able to start controlling the camera via Zoom as well. The controller is available and built into Zoom, right? So the functionality just keeps growing. The more you start integrating with applications and the more you start integrating with business use cases, and collaboration platforms do make that happen. Zoom does make that happen now very easily. you will see that the use cases just kind of keep growing.
Well, Anand, thanks so very much. I mean, to understand that people are using, communications tools integrated, with drones and, collaborating. I mean, this is just phenomenal. I have a few questions, and of course, we've got a few from the audience as well, so you can take those. But, in your experience, and we've been through the pandemic now, but do you still think that businesses understand, how critical communications are, especially when they plan on growth?
Oh yes, I think everybody we are speaking to, Melanie, they understand it. You know, explaining to them that it's critical has really not been the challenge. So I think what they are looking for is how they can innovate with collaboration, right? So how can I integrate? So they understand the criticality of it, and what they're looking at is how do I integrate it with my business, right? How can I drive greater value with that? How do I integrate it with my current ecosystem? How do I integrate it with the way my teams are reaching out and connecting with customers? How do I use it to get more feedback from customers? So it's a lot about how can I integrate collaboration into every single aspect of my business? And those are the kind of questions we are hearing from customers, and those are the kind of answers we are working on resolving, right? I go back to that example of the manufacturing floor, right? Where you're saying, I've got 50 people on the floor, my engineering team sits in another office. How do I want to stop my floor line, get everybody into one huddle room? No, we'll use realware, right? We'll put on gear where you can start a call and move into a huddle room in your office, but somebody's there on the factory floor looking at what's happening, right? So it's about bringing in the use cases that a business has and integrating that with collaboration to make sure that across the business, you get that one consistent collaboration. I hope I've answered that question. But in the India market, yeah, I think my customers are very excited about the integration piece, and we never are challenged with explaining why collaboration is important.
All right. Anand, let's take a few questions that have come in from the audience. I'll start right at the beginning. We've got Rajlekha Basu Malik. She asks, how to choose best communication tool for my business where there are so many options available in the market?
It's a good question. And let me remove my sales cap and step back here. But I think I'll go back to the UPI example. Is it easy to use? Point number one. What are the hidden costs there? Is it what you see, what you get, right? How easy is it to actually integrate with the existing applications that you have? And is it a secure platform? But I think the key is adoption, right? For an SMB in particular, because if I invest in a collaboration solution, and you will evaluate for security, you will evaluate for low bandwidth areas, you will evaluate a lot of things. But one thing you want to watch out for is adoption. Can I make sure that everybody is going to pick up and start using it? Or do I need resources to make adoption happen? Or do I need resources to make sure that I'm able to manage this collaboration platform? So I think I'd say something that you need to look at is how easy will it be for everybody to start adopting the platform, or will they stick to whatever tool they're comfortable with on their mobile phones to send messages? So adoption will be key, and adoption depends on ease of use. And UPI is a great example to kind of explain that, saying because it's easy to use, it's secure. Once you start using it, you know it's easy to use and safe. Same thing with collaboration. We have to extend that and say, what's going to be my adoption? Can we make it work?
Okay. And then linked to that, so for instance, as Rajlekha points out in the question, that there are so many tools available, and you sort of are in the market, and you see the adoption, and you have a great vantage, on how it is driving efficiencies and how it is driving your product usage. Do you see people using multiple communication tools, or do you see them veering at some point towards, one or two that seem to integrate better? Or do you see the multiplicity?
Yes, and I think that momentum is well underway, Minoni. That critical path, people are looking at one platform, right? And it's largely to drive consistency in user experience and to make sure that employees are not fatigued with having to deal with 6 different tools, not just on their mobile phone, but on their desktop or wherever they go to answer. So yes, that momentum is there where everybody is moving towards one platform. And that's why it's being called a platform. It's also being called a platform for that reason, that you are able to integrate different applications that you may have or different use cases that you may have into this platform. So that is on again to kind of illustrate how it's changing. Almost everybody here from an SMB will say we have either contemplated for a long while or we are currently doing it. We're spending on digital advertising, right? That's a lot of money being spent on digital advertising, and the way customers buy has also changed, right? They are, by the time somebody gets in front of a sales rep, they're typically already halfway through a sales decision these days, right? It's very different to where it was when I started my sales career. But we know that that path that a customer takes has also changed. Collaboration here becomes important because you quickly need to address that customer's question, get in front of them and say, look, what are the questions you need answered? What's the information you need? Can I quickly walk you through a demo? Sorry, I'm using sales here because it's an example that's pretty close to my heart, but it is able to drive a tremendous amount of efficiencies. And let's be honest, face-to-face is not going anywhere, right? It will be there. It will exist. People will continue to meet face-to-face. People will want to catch up over a coffee or a beer, right? That is going to happen. But at the same time, nobody is going to give up the efficiency that video conferencing and collaboration have to offer, because, hey, if I can do something in 5 minutes over a video call, why would I want to travel 300 kilometers to get that same conversation done, right? And that's where I think people are starting to drive efficiencies to say, I can create a great balance, focus on what's important, and make sure that I can use video very intelligently to drive all the efficiencies that I'm looking for. Hey, if I can increase customer engagement 10x through video, I don't see too many people saying no.
Okay. And I think you just answered Shashank's question, which was, with people back to office, how are these softwares still relevant? So,
I think I read it in ET, Loni, where I think attrition rates are very, very high, over 25%, right? Currently in most companies. And one of the reasons is when somebody's told, get back to work 5 days a week, people are saying, no, thank you. I'm happy to come in once or twice. And I did speak about this, right? But yeah, I think these tools become all the more relevant because the headwinds now are not what they were 2 years ago, right? The headwinds now are different, and the headwinds are both internal and external. And we are only going to see these tools become more and more and more relevant as they become integrated with what businesses are doing. You're going to see this more in terms of KYC, for example. You're going to see this more in customer engagements. And I think eventually, even now, if you're going to banks, maybe, for example, once every 3 months or 4 months, even that's likely to come down when you can say, look, maybe I can just do this over a video call with my relationship manager, right? You're going to see it increasingly happen, that the number of visits that one will be making conventional will start going down. So video tools are not going anywhere. In fact, the amount of innovation that's happening and driven by the mass market in India, I think it's going to be more and more sticky for sure.
All right. When we integrate video so much into our lives, right? There is an obvious question which is being asked by Aditya Anand, how secure a platform is. And his question is, how secure is Zoom as a tool?
We meet industry standards for security. We have end-to-end encryption. For example, I spoke about feature releases. One of our most recent features is you can bring your own keys to Zoom. So the end-to-end encryption also gives you the option to say, look, I'll give my own keys, not Zoom's keys, but I'll bring my own keys. Already when we use end-to-end, which is available to all users, and for example, we don't discriminate users for security based on the level of licensing that they have, right? Everybody who uses Zoom has the same level of security, right? So we have innovated a lot in terms of in-meeting security, etc. But if I were to just look at some of the most recent releases, right? Bring your own keys, which is one of the highest levels of security that one can provide, right? Second, when I would look at security, I think security has different levels. What's the amount of security I'm providing within a meeting, right? and am I allowing somebody to control who can come in, who can record, who can, for example, I can even add an audio signature now on a video call to say, hey, somebody is using a mobile device, recording what I'm saying, and then publishes it. How do I manage it? We can also put in an audio signature to say, okay, this specific user is the one who's probably recorded this based on that audio signature. So we're giving a tremendous amount of controls to users to also determine how they want to control the security of their meeting. And of course, at an admin level, those feature releases continue to happen. So yes, industry standard as far as security is concerned, and those features keep coming in, and we take our security very, very seriously. The best security demo that I got of Zoom was in my niece's school, where second wave of the pandemic, we just admitted my niece into a school. Turned out that they were using Zoom. We got on to call, the principal says, look, this is how online classes happen, right? So if I've got somebody who's non-technical, a complete business user, able to say that who comes in is monitored, we only make sure that anybody with the school domain comes into the class. Everybody will have a similar virtual background. We can control who's going to do annotations, right? So every single security feature, a business user is able to say, this is how we're going to use it. And they're using it in a very sensitive environment with kids. So I think it's just not about being secure, it's about how easy those features also are to use for end users.
Anand, where
I hope I answered your question.
I think so. Anand, yeah. I'm just curious to know, where are you getting the biggest push for business from, or where are you seeing the greatest opportunity as far as the India market is concerned? You set out marketing, you set out government, education, hospitality, all of these sectors. Where are you seeing the greatest and the quickest adoption or potential adoption?
I'd say it's across the board, Miloni. Yes, there are some segments who by their very nature and DNA will probably adopt faster. Like if you're in the tech space, if you're a startup, yeah, you'll probably adopt faster than those segments do adopt very fast, right? But I think what's more interesting is where is the innovation happening, right? We know that schools were on it, but are they still using it? Yes, they are, right? Higher education, they're still using it. In fact, they're saying, hey, I can get more students into classrooms now, right? Because I've got this whole bunch of executive programs that I can structure, courses that I can build, right? So segments where we thought once we go completely back to offline, segments which we thought would not be innovating on Zoom, they continue to innovate and build innovation to make sure that they're continuing to use video and collaborating, right? So I'd say across segments, we are seeing a tremendous amount of uptake, but where we're seeing the most innovation is the way businesses themselves are saying, areas where we engage with customers, let's put in more collaboration there. Areas where I'm trying to build connectedness with employees, let's put in more collaboration there. Where am I speaking to investors, etc.? Can I put in more collaboration there, right? And trying to see that we get one single platform within an organization. So I think where we are seeing the most innovation is around how companies are saying, I just don't need it for one or two simple things that my huddle in the morning or the evening or one call a day, but across my business points, where all can I integrate it? That's where we're seeing a tremendous amount of innovation.
All right. Yeah. What about Bharat users? Yes, tremendous offtake from, cities where we have great connectivity. With BharatNet, we probably have fantastic connectivity also in our villages. But, when it comes to businesses, small businesses in Bharat, are their challenges very different from, say, the businesses, who operate out of cities and the demand of what they ask out of you or the challenges that they face?
So from where I sit in my vantage point, Miloni, I think the two shifts that we're seeing have actually leveled the playing field dramatically. Okay, so we are seeing companies say that, look, suddenly I'm able to engage with my vendor ecosystem very differently. So I'm able to, why do I now need vendors who are just sitting next door to me or within walking distance or within a car drive away? I'm able to connect with a vendor ecosystem that's spread across the country. Right? With salaries going through the roof, that wire is red hot still. They're saying, why should I not go to a tier 2 or a tier 3 market and get tier one talent, top grade talent, right? So once again, I think Bharat has adopted dramatically, and collaboration now is also built for low bandwidth environments. If that is a challenge, I honestly don't see too much of a challenge currently. But if that does exist, even that collaboration tools like Zoom, we are built for high packet loss, low bandwidth. But I think companies have pivoted very strongly to say, uh, we, because of these two large shifts, we are able to engage more and more, and we have to engage more and more across the country. I have colleagues in my team who sit in Bhagalpur, Bhopal, right? Somebody who works about 60 kilometers outside of Coimbatore. I never see them drop on a call. The Bangalore guys do, but it's like the connectivity is good and strong, and they're connected and they're staying online, and we are having a conversation. So uh, I do see that we are going to see a lot of competitiveness. That companies in cities outside of tier one cities, towns outside of tier one cities, are going to become increasingly competitive because collaboration does give them that edge where they can connect to an ecosystem of not just possible employees, but vendors and customers as well. You reach out to customers across the globe sitting in any town.
All right, Anand, wonderful to chat with you and to get a sense of how platforms like Zoom are transforming the way we communicate and how businesses are leveraging this to scale. Thanks so very much for this session today, and a big thank you to our audience. Stay tuned for more. That's it from all of us.